What up, what up, what up? I'm your host, Chef BlaqRobb, and welcome to Ruthie's Royal Soul. Today, we're gonna be making some of my famous dishes that everybody loves. Quick backstory about me. I'm an Austin, Texas native. I was raised out there. Both my parents was in the military. I essentially joined the military and honed my culinary skills while I serving in the US Navy for over 20 years. I was able to see the world and taste cuisines from all over. After I retired from the Navy, I went back to Texas, started my own catering business named Chef BlaqRobb Private Dining and Catering, where we strive to give everybody a dining experience to remember. So let's get into it. Today we're going to be making Jerk Chicken Rasta Pasta, salted caramel bourbon bread pudding, and one of my favorite dishes, Tex Louisiana, which is the Cajun fried catfish fillet, dirty rice, creamy shrimp etouffee, and southern style kale. Let's get into it. All right, everybody, we're gonna make my jerk chicken rasta pasta. All right, first thing, a couple things you're gonna need. Of course, boneless skinless chicken thighs, but of course you can use chicken, salmon, lamb. It's a pretty versatile dish, but I'm using boneless skinless chicken thighs, heavy cream, chicken stock. I got a dry Caribbean rub, flour, chicken bouillon, garlic, green onions, heirloom cherry tomatoes, and shallots, butter, and some olive oil. All right, so first thing first, we're gonna season up the chicken. Get some gloves, or a glove. Gonna hit it with a little olive oil. And this is a pretty popular dish with my catering business and as well as my family. My kids love it. It is something I just came up with. I know a couple places do it, but I came up with this when I was working at a restaurant called Chefs in San Diego. So big shout out to Chefs SD. You want to get this nice and seasoned. Of course, you can do this the day before if you want to, but just doing it a couple of hours before, it'll still be just fine. So don't even trip on it. But you definitely can do this a day before if you want to. All right, you got the chicken nice and seasoned. Make sure you got a hot pan, about medium high, and you just want to just get some color on this chicken. You definitely want to hear that sear. That's how you know your pan's hot. If you don't hear the sear, your pan ain't hot enough. And we're gonna let those go for about 3 to 5 minutes on each side. Just want to get some color because we're gonna finish them in the oven. So while that's going, I'm gonna go ahead and drop my pasta. Have some water boiling already. And I like to add a little chicken bouillon to my water. Some people like to just use chicken stock, but I like a little chicken bouillon. It gives it a lot better flavor. All right, now as you can see, this chicken is searing off right now. All right, gonna check it. All right, got some good color. There we go. One thing about it, you gotta have chicken with some color on it. Don't want no light-skinned chicken. Color is flavor. All right, now once you flip it, you're gonna put it in the oven for about 5 to 10 minutes. Finish off. All right, now while that's going, we're gonna start on our rasta pasta sauce, rasta sauce. You're gonna need about 6 to 8 tablespoons of butter. Salted preferably. Get this melted. And while that's melted, we're gonna drop our pasta. Pasta is gonna take about between 10 to 15 minutes or until al dente. It's okay if the butter browns a little bit. That's a little flavor. Now we're gonna add 1 shallot or shallots, like Gordon Ramsay would say, and like a tablespoon garlic, minced garlic. And I like to put a little bit of this Caribbean seasoning. It's gonna open up the flavors, open up the aroma, and get this thing going. Just let that saute just for a quick minute. Then we're gonna add some flour. Now we're gonna make a roux, and a roux is equal parts fat to equal parts flour. So I put 6 to 8 tablespoons of butter. So I'm gonna put 4 to 6 tablespoons of flour. Gonna make a roux. I like my roux a little thick, so, and also just, and cooking off the roux is gonna just cook off that raw flavor. You just don't want no raw flour taste in there. So you're just gonna cook this out about 2-3 minutes. All right, once that's cooked down a little bit, we're gonna add some heavy cream. And this is 4 cups of heavy cream. Now, you're just gonna keep stirring this until the roux is combined with the heavy cream. And then we're gonna reduce the temp to like medium heat. You're gonna let that go until it starts to thicken up. And once it starts thickening up, we'll add our chicken stock. You just keep an eye on it and make sure it don't. You gotta keep stirring it every few minutes. And while that's gonna cook, I'm gonna let this cook for a little bit and we'll be back. Cream is starting to thicken up. We're gonna add 2.5 cups of chicken stock. The pasta's still going, doing this thing. And you're gonna mix this till it's well incorporated, and it's gonna thicken back up toward the consistency that we want. And we probably got like another 3 to 4 minutes on the chicken that's in the oven. And when we take the chicken out, we're gonna let it rest for like 3 to 5 minutes, and it will be ready to go. All right. Yeah, and like I said, this is like a fan favorite. Everybody I make this for loves my Jerk Chicken Rasta Pasta. And like I said, of course, you can do this many different ways. I haven't done it yet, but I do want to try it with lamb. You can do it with shrimp, salmon. If you want to use whole chicken breasts or anything like that, this is a very versatile dish and anybody can make it. And once we get the cream back up to temp, because we added that cold stock to it, once we get it back up to temp, we're gonna add mozzarella cheese and Parmesan cheese. We got another few more minutes on the pasta, and we'll be back in just a second. All right, now the sauce is thickened up to the consistency I like, but I'm gonna add a little pasta water to it, just for a little bit, because I think it might be a little too thick. So I'm gonna like maybe like a cup and a half of pasta water. Get that incorporated, and then I'm gonna add my cheeses. So I'm gonna start off with my mozzarella, and I'm gonna cut the heat off, because if you cook it too high of heat, the cheese will get gritty. So you don't want that. You want a nice, smooth, consistent sauce. About 3/4 of a bag of mozzarella. A couple big pinches of Parmesan. I'm just gonna stir that in till it's incorporated, and the sauce is pretty much done. But let's taste it to make sure. Always remember to taste your stuff. And always remember, you can add, you can't subtract. You can add, you can't subtract. It's money, baby. That is money all day. All right, let me pull the chicken out. We're gonna let that rest. And we can go ahead and drain the pasta. We're gonna add it right back to the same pot that we was cooking in. Put it back on the heat on low. Yeah, this is the consistency that you want. Yeah, cheese is melting nice. Nice, smooth, and creamy right there. All right, now let's plate it up. All right, I'm gonna get that chicken in just a second. But let me pour this sauce. And you can just add a little bit at a time till you get it to how saucy you want it. But I think I got enough to make it real saucy. So we're gonna make it saucy. Mix this up. All right, now I'm gonna cut up the chicken. These were some small chicken thighs, so I'm probably gonna do about 2 or 3 for 2 or 3 of them for this presentation. And just thin strips. It's a very easy meal, and trust me, Your kids, your husband, your girlfriend, your wife, they will love it. It's an easy dish to make and very versatile. All right, that seems like a good enough amount of chicken. All right. Yeah, look at that money shot right there. Nice and creamy. Yeah, nice and creamy. And of course you want to do a little presentation. That's why we got the green onions and tomatoes. Got a little dribble on the side, but we're gonna wipe that up, clean that up. All right, clean out the sides. Throw a glove on real quick. Handle this chicken. Gonna put the chicken right on top. A little bit of green onion. A few of these heirloom tomatoes for a pop of color and some freshness. And there you have it. Chef BlaqRobb's Jerk Chicken Rasta Pasta. You can serve it with some garlic bread. Trust me, garlic bread is just phenomenal with it. But some garlic bread or garlic toast or even some garlic rolls. But there you have it. Bon appetit. All right, y'all, I got a sweet treat for y'all. It's something I like to make, and it's pretty famous for my catering business, and a lot of people do love it. It is a salted caramel bourbon bread pudding. That's right, you heard it, bourbon bread pudding. All right, so what you're gonna need is some eggs, heavy cream, coarse bourbon, nutmeg, cinnamon, vanilla, brown sugar, and I got some powdered sugar and some cinnamon toast crunch powder, and some cooking spray. And also you're gonna need, I like to cook it in a cast iron little pan right like this. And also have some croissants that I already cubed up. This was like a 6-pack of mini croissants, and I just cubed them up into like 1-inch cubes. All right, so first we're gonna do is make the custard. We're gonna add our eggs, heavy cream, about 1 or 2 teaspoons of vanilla, maybe about a tablespoon of cinnamon, a few dashes of nutmeg, because nutmeg is pretty strong, so you don't want to overpower it with some nutmeg. So just a few dashes of nutmeg, and about a packed cup of brown sugar. Gonna get this a good mixing. Make sure everything is nice and incorporated, and make sure the sugar is dissolved. And if you have any little extra, trust me, this also makes a great French toast batter as well. So don't trip if you have a little bit of extra of the batter. It's perfectly fine. This makes some beautiful French toast that my wife loves. She loves my French toast. All right, we'll be back in just a second. All right, now we're gonna flambe the bourbon, which is basically we're gonna cook the alcohol off and just have the bourbon flavor. And always, when you add any alcohol to the pan, bring the pan away, add your alcohol, then add it back. Should catch. There we go. And we're just gonna let this cook down a little bit, just cook off the alcohol. Once the flame goes away, the alcohol is cooked off. And you're just gonna be left with that nice concentrated bourbon flavor. Yeah, I really like to cook with alcohols, like wines and cognacs. I make a to die for anything sauce, and a red wine, cherry red wine sauce, and also a white wine demi sauce that goes great with chicken or lamb. And my cognac sauce goes with good with steaks. All right, now we're gonna transfer this. Good. Blow it out. It's cool. It's done. Now we're gonna add this to the salt, to our custard. You gotta smell it. That bourbon and everything all mixed together. This smells amazing. Now we're gonna mix up the croissants. I already cubed them, as I already said, and I already have preheated my oven to 375. Add the croissants in. Gonna add our custard. We're gonna add it slowly. We're not gonna dump it all in at once because you don't want it too soggy. You just want the croissants to soak up the custard. I'm gonna do about half of it for right now. Toss it up, toss it around. Just gonna add a little bit more. And then I'm gonna let it sit and soak for just a few minutes to make sure that everything gets soaked into the croissants. You want to use your hands because you don't want to break up the croissants. You want to kind of leave them whole. All right, now while this is sitting soaking up, we'll be back in just a second. All right, now the croissants have already been soaked for about 3 to 5 minutes. I'm gonna add this to my greased skillet pan. And you want to pretty much pack it in there, get it nice and tight because it is gonna inflate up a little bit while it's baking off. Get that in there, nice and tight. And this is like a little cheat code I have right here. I take a little bit of this cinnamon toast, sprinkle it on. It's my little cheat code. You ain't gotta do what I do, but that's what I like to do. And it's gonna go in the oven for about 20 to 30 minutes or until it's nice and golden brown. And we'll be back. All right, welcome back, welcome back. All right, now the bread pudding has been going for about 20 minutes, so we're gonna pull that out and get this plated up. Boy, 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 look at that, look at that. You see how it puffed up? Now we're gonna go ahead and garnish it off. Hit it with some of that salted caramel. You wanna serve this hot or warm, either one. And there you have it. Salted caramel bourbon bread pudding. Enjoy. Bon appetit. All right. Now we're gonna make something I like to call Tex Louisiana. It's one of my favorite dishes to make, even though it's a lot more components to it, but it's one of my favorite dishes to make. It is gonna be a fried catfish fillet with a creamy shrimp etouffee sauce, dirty rice, and southern style kale. So first thing we're gonna get going, we gotta make the roux. The roux is gonna take the longest because you don't wanna cook it too fast. You wanna cook it low and slow to get that good, nice roux. Now people from New Orleans know what I'm talking about. So first we're gonna start off, I like to use butter instead of oil. So I'm gonna use a stick of butter. And once that butter gets melted, I'm gonna add the flour to it. And we're just gonna let that go. It's gonna take about 30 minutes, maybe 45, just depending on your temp, but you gotta babysit it and watch it. You don't wanna burn the roux. You wanna cook it low and slow to get that good flavor. And that's what them New Orleans people know what I'm talking about, baby. So that's how we gonna do it. All right, now that the butter's melted, we're gonna add our flour in. I put a stick of flour that's like 8 tablespoons, so I'm gonna put about the same amount of flour in there. So 8 tablespoons of flour, 8 tablespoons of butter. That's how we make a roux. And we're just gonna let this go and let that brown up and do what it do till we get that roux the way we want it. So it's gonna be, like I said, it's gonna be about 20, maybe to 45 minutes. And while that's going, we're gonna work on browning off this meat for the dirty rice. And earlier I had already cooked my rice and I already got my stock going for my southern style kale. The stock contains onions, peppers, celery, chicken stock, a little bit of hot sauce, and last we're gonna add some apple cider vinegar to this. And we're just gonna let that go, let the vegetables cook down and let all the flavor get into that water, make us a nice little pot liquor. So in the meantime, I'm gonna come over here and start working on this ground beef for the dirty rice. All right, now we're gonna work on our dirty rice. I got some 85-15 ground beef. Normally I like to use a little leaner cut. I think it's like 97.3 that I like to use, but I'm gonna go ahead. Today we're gonna use 85-15. And all we're gonna do is just brown off the ground beef before we add the Holy Trinity into it. The Holy Trinity consists of onions, peppers, and celery. That's one of those little Creole Holy Trinities. You wanna keep your ground beef moving, get it cooked all the way through till all the pink's out. And probably when it's about halfway through, you can go ahead and add your onions, peppers, and celery to it. Just give us a couple more minutes, we'll be right back. All right, now we're gonna add this Holy Trinity I was telling you about, onions, pepper, celery. I like to use the tricolored. That's green pepper, red pepper, and yellow pepper. Some nice fine, nice diced celery and some nice diced onions. We're just gonna let this cook down. Cook down a little bit. Then we're gonna add our seasoning. Add about a tablespoon of minced garlic. Tablespoons of Tony Saturas, some Creole seasoning. Nice tablespoon of Cajun seasoning. And then like a teaspoon of onion powder. And then we're just gonna let this get all mixed in. Let them get to know each other. And work out well together. So we're gonna let that go. Let that continue to cook a little bit. We're gonna let this cook for like another five minutes or so. And we'll be right back right when this is all cooked together. We'll put everything together. Now that we got the ground beef cooked and the peppers and onions going, we're gonna add our rice to it. Like I said, I made this rice earlier. I'm just gonna get this good incorporated. Like I said earlier, get everybody get to know each other. Meld together and make something beautiful. All right, there you go. Dirty rice, ready to go. We'll be back to fry this fish in just a second. All right, now we about to drop the catfish. Since the dirty rice is done, the sauce is done, we about to drop the kale and cook off the shrimp, and we're gonna be ready to plate it up. So let's go ahead and drop this catfish. I already breaded it, so it's ready to go. All right, now while that's going, I'm gonna work on this shrimp real quick. All right, I got my pan hot. I'm just gonna add a little olive oil to it. Start dropping the shrimp on in. Make sure you got a hot pan. You gotta hear that sizzle. No sizzle, pan ain't ready. And like I said, I normally like to do this with crawfish, but didn't have no crawfish available, so we can still do it with some shrimp though. And we're gonna let these go like 3 to 4 minutes each side. And while that's going, I'm gonna finish off this etouffee sauce by adding a little heavy cream to it. Oh yeah. Look real good, look real good. And while that's going, I'm gonna drop this kale down. I like to use kale because you don't have to cook it as long as you cook greens. It'll impart the same flavors as greens do in like less than half the time. So all you're doing is just getting this going. I'm gonna dump all the kale in. And then let that go. And then maybe after about 3 or 4 minutes, I'm gonna turn it. Then I'm just gonna cut it off and just let it soak up. And we'll be right back in a few minutes. All right, etouffee sauce done. Shrimp is cooked off. Kale is ready. Fish is ready. Dirty rice is ready. Now we're gonna put it all together. Now you wanna try to put this together all nice and neat and pretty. So, because a presentation can go a long way. So just give a nice little portion of dirty rice. Then we're gonna come with the catfish. Lay that on top. Some of this kale. Get a little bit more because you gotta eat your greens. And kale is a superfood if y'all didn't know that. All right, we're gonna throw a couple of shrimp on here, right across the top. Hit it with some of this creamy etouffee. A little bit more, don't be stingy with it. They're gonna love it, trust me. And then garnish off with a little green onion. If you want to get a little more fancier, you can char off a lemon and have it on the side. I've done that a few times for presentation. And there you have it right here. Tex Louisiana by Chef BlaqRobb. Bon appetit. Thank you. All right, recap for today. We had the Jerk Chicken Rasta Pasta. Then we did the salted caramel bourbon bread pudding. And lastly was my famous
Tex Louisiana fried catfish. You can catch me at www.chef.BlaqRobb.com. You can also check out my website, Chef BlaqRobb, spelled just same way as my website. But thank y'all for coming out. Thank y'all for tuning in. I appreciate all y'all. Hope y'all had fun cooking with me today. Shout out to all my homies in the Navy. Big shout outs to the Navy, all my ships I've been on, the 20 years of service I did. Thank y'all, thank y'all, thank y'all. I'm out.